Welcome to Food Shrinks.
Hey, Food Shrinks fam, it's Molly. And before we get started, we just want to say podcasting ain't free. So, in order to help us stay alive here in the pod sphere, we need your help. And you know how hard it is to ask for help. Here's what you can do easy peasy. First of all, make sure you subscribe to this podcast. Second of all, make sure you rate this podcast. And we love a 5-star rating. And third, share, 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 share. The more, the merrier. Now to our pod. So every single week, well, I mean, we're also on a group text like all the time. Our group text is vibrant. If you tried to find something in our group text, it would be very hard to find. There's all sorts of information, but we sort of are like, hey, anybody got anything on their mind? And
Mhm.
I said this week that I've been thinking about this concept of fragilization. So anyway, then before the pod, we were all like, well, why are you thinking about it, Molly? Like, what's it coming up? Like, where's it coming up? And I'm just like, guys, I don't know. I'm just sometimes walking my dog and I think of things like fragilization. But I think the other thing I mean, we really just share our stuff on this show and we've been so real and I love like the last episode. Clarissa's thinking about your episode and like, I don't know, I've been really dark for a couple months and I'm coming out of it, which is such a great reminder to everybody, right? There's sunshine and there's rain. And I guess when I'm coming out of darkness, I sometimes think about when I was really, really actively addicted and really, really sick and how people treated me that contributed to the length of my illness. And a lot of it was through fragilization. In my family, it still happens like, well, you're just so busy, Molly. And
Mm.
it makes me feel so crazy. So I was thinking about it and I just want to define it before we get there. And I think it happens like I think in food and weight disorders, I think we fragilize ourselves like so much. And I guess I was also thinking about that with like where I feel emotionally right now. And I think I like in my depression, I really like was fragilizing myself. Like, God, I can't fight this one more minute. Like, oh, I just need to like whatever. And I can really forget who I am when I'm fragilizing myself.
Mm.
And so I know also, but like also I've been fragilized. People fragilize me all the time. Like, oh, I just didn't want to bother you. And I'm like, wait, like, are you gonna break? Like, it makes me feel so unstable.
Mhm.
So long story long, sorry.
Don't be. I am identifying with everything you're
Yeah, I
saying.
know. Me too.
Totally.
This is what I do when I'm walking my dog. The hamster does not stop running, queens. So I looked it up. Fragilization involves treating individuals, especially in vulnerable groups, as if they are inherently fragile or delicate. Hmm.
Mm.
And I think
Right.
with like diet, I don't know. I know that I have fragilized myself to my detriment. And I know that people have fragilized me to my detriment. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
even re-listening to that last episode of me when I was in it and I was going through it, even the way that I was talking about myself and how I was going through things, like I'm holding it together, but barely. Like one thing might knock me off, and but that actually wasn't true.
Mm.
But in that moment, I had a belief that was true, if that makes sense.
So no, like so when we were talking about like the drinking thing, and Molly and I are like, I'm not going if you drink. You're like, oh yeah, I'm fine, I'm strong, right? Like you were
Yeah,
fragilizing
like,
yourself
I
even
don't
there.
actually wanna do that, but I felt like I think it also probably speaks to the history, right, of how
Mhm.
many times, I've had a setback or all of, repeated occurrences, start to make me lose trust and faith in myself, that when things get hard, I can't handle it,
Mhm.
and what was so great this time is when things got really hard, I handled it totally differently. And even though it's only been a month, I, like and I'm still kind of in it. Mom's surgery isn't yet, but I'm okay. I'm strong. I'm grounded.
Well,
That
also, snappity snaps, Clarissa K. texted me, not like to feel, but like texted me on the side, giving me a puppy update and being like, I just wanted you to know. And I know that that's like not your norm. And it made me, I mean, it just made me feel so good. It made me feel like a trust. It's such a funny thing how scared we can get of like reaching out. And I was like, Clarissa, thank you so much. Like, I felt so warm. So it's like, obviously you're doing it differently too.
Yeah, which again, it's not, this has just kept coming up for me. It's not that we can do hard things, it's how we do the hard things
Yeah.
that matters. And I think that's been my biggest takeaway from all of this is, whether it's opposite action of what I've been doing every single other time and how I'm doing it differently this time. And it's been awful, but it's actually been like also better. And
I get it. I feel
yeah,
exactly the same. And I want to say to the listener, there's a difference between fragilizing yourself and like invalidating yourself. I don't think we're sitting here being like, you're not fragile, get it together. Like, right. But it's sort of like my teacher two retreats ago was like, she just kind of said it out of the side of her mouth. She's like, I do not, very calmly, she said, I do not have a breaking point.
mm,
And I was like, I want to be like that. And when I'm in my wisest mind, it's just like, it's like, this is what I'm being given. And I'm going to wise-mindedly, just like what Clarissa's doing right now, like, I'm going to wise-mindedly attend to my mom. And then I'm going to attend to my dog. And then I'm going to let my friends know. And then I'm going to take a bath. Like, she's not fragilizing herself. She's not saying, I just can't handle this. Like, I can't do this. This is too much for me. She's like,
mhm.
this is a lot of shit, but I'm going to do it. So I just want the listener, I would hear it like, oh, these girls, they're being so, we're not being invalidating, but
No.
when we fragilize ourselves, we make ourselves believe that we're fragile. And that's the big problem.
I also think like shame can
Mm,
make us way more fragile.
absolutely.
And I think like if like what fragility in recovery speaks to me mostly is after a reoccurrence,
Mm.
where we question everything. We don't know what we're doing, and it's like, I'm never going to get this. And most of this is shame, but I feel like they're just so
Oh,
enmeshed.
it's like the shame funnels itself into, I'm not strong enough to do this.
Right.
Molly, what do you think?
Yeah. I would say, yeah, so part of my recovery story has always been, I shouldn't say always, but since the beginning of my recovery. So for a long time in my much younger years, before I knew I needed help or before somebody stepped in and said like, hey, I'm concerned about you, let's get you some help. Um, I lived my life, what I always called like riding the fence. So I was the chameleon. I was whoever I needed to be for the person who was in front of me, primarily whichever parent or adult, right? And in that practice, you are not honest. Okay? You are not honest with yourself. You are not honest with others, whatever. And once I realized, hey, you're really depressed, you have a lot of anxiety, all of this stuff, I had to start being more honest about all of the things, including how I was feeling, that kind of thing. And so part of my honesty is telling people, hey, I'm in this really dark place right now. I'm struggling. Um, I'm not at full capacity, however it is I'm communicating. And I tell people, I guess for me, it's like, I'm telling people that because it's part of me needing to be honest with myself, but also with you to know this is where I'm at. This is where I'm coming from, in hopes that I don't slip back into that chameleon place. And then, like you said, the fragilization can happen. So then, somebody might say, even Clarissa from time to time has been like, oh, I'm not going to like tell her this thing or give her this task because she's already overwhelmed. She's already got all of this
She's
stuff going on.
fragilizing you, right?
For sure, which we think we're doing that out of care and empathy. And that's okay. It was really interesting because I don't remember exactly what our exchange was yesterday, Clarissa, but you had said something and I just remember thinking, well, she doesn't get to decide that for me.
Oh, I think you were like, oh, I failed you. or something. I feel like it
something,
failed me, something
something maybe.
like you
Yeah.
can
And
never fail me.
no, right, right. And I was like, she doesn't get to
Wish
decide
I
that
was
for
on
me.
that group text.
Which yeah. And here's the thing, like, I'm not mad at Clarissa for saying, whatever. It was just this, it's just I get these daily reminders almost of like, oh, people are always trying to take care of me. And I don't need that aspect of it. I guess I need something different. And so part of this fragilizing, I think, is learning to communicate in different ways too, to maybe even push back when we're recognizing that it's happening with us, to challenge this belief that we're fragile. Like you've been saying, right? Challenge it. Like, yes, we all have a lot of things going on, just like we were talking about in your episode, Clarissa, with, the heaviness of everything. We all have a lot of stuff going on. We all have stuff going on behind closed doors. It's not like what's going on for me behind closed doors 24/7, 365. And so yeah, to even just give ourselves language and permission to say, well, yeah, I'm struggling and I can still do these things, and let me decide if I have the time, the capacity,
Right.
the whatever to do these things.
Well, so much of
Yeah.
the addiction, I think at least some is really so much of people are the first addiction, right? So codependency, right? And so when we're uncomfortable inside of ourselves, we sometimes put it on other people, right? We try to fix other people and we try to caretake other people because we don't want to, focus on ourselves. And I was just thinking about this girl that used to work for me, and she would like be like, well, like I didn't want to bother you. I just didn't want to, and honest to God, like no one can make you feel a certain way, but like it made me feel like a lunatic. It made me feel like I felt okay, but she was saying this in a way like, well, if I put one more domino on you, you're going to break. And I was like,
Yeah.
what? Give it to me and then I'll tell you whether or not I can do it. It really infuriated me. And so I think there's a part of us kind of believing in ourselves, but I also wonder how much we're contributing to fragilizing others. By the way, my
Mhm.
mother just said to me, let me make my own choices, would you? I was like, Mom, I don't think you should be watching the baby this month. Mom, my mom's like, leave me alone. I love drama. And I was completely fragilizing her. I mean, let me promise you that. And she pushed back so hard on me. So I think it's kind of because they talk about fragilization so much in parenting and what it's doing like to our kids right now, right? Not thinking
Mhm.
our kids can tolerate loss, not thinking our kids can tolerate a boundary. And as above, so is below, right? And what's in the one is in the whole. So it's like I guess I just think of it in our whole world right now. Like everybody's like walking on eggshells with everybody, and there's like more war and polarization than there's ever been. Like something's wrong.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And when we do this to ourselves, to others, whomever it might be, we are robbing them of the opportunity to grow. Like that's a growth edge,
Or
right? So it delays progress. It just holds us back. It can divert our time and attention and energy to places, that
yeah,
maybe is like unhelpful.
it just doesn't bring power to people, ourselves
Right.
included. And
Yeah.
I was watching this like, oh, I'm back on Instagram, by the way.
How's that? Quick check in.
Here's a shock. It's so addictive.
Yeah. Breaking news.
It's
Can't
like what they
stop.
say in
Don't
AA,
want to stop.
they're like, I hate it, right? Like your addiction's doing push-ups in the parking lot. I was like, I want to be like, you guys need to calm down.
Yeah.
It's doing, it's a little better because I'm not so primed, but like I found myself a couple of times, like without my permission, just doing the story scroll. Like it's real. Wait, why was I saying perimenopause? Why was I saying that? I forget anyway. I forgot anyway, but I'm back on Instagram and fragilization. I can't remember. Oh, right. There was a guy on Instagram and he was like, it's not that you're afraid to fail. You're afraid of what people think about you failing. It's not that you're afraid of starting from scratch. You're afraid of what people are going to think of you starting from scratch.
Yeah.
And I think that I just think that hemorrhaging of power is such like a big deal, especially if you're listening to our show, I imagine you have some food and weight stuff. Like it takes a lot of our own personal power to really navigate this relationship with food and to know what's right and to know what's wrong and to come back. I don't know, like all of it, right? You put a chocolate covered pretzel in your mouth, you got to know, okay, let's get right back on, or maybe that was fine. Like you have to design on self be true is so important.
It's a
Yes.
lot of work.
Well, and I think it's so important to remember too, like people actually aren't fragile. We're actually very resourceful. If you think
Yeah.
about like, you have literally survived 100% of the bad things that have ever happened to you in order for you to be in existence today.
Right.
You have found a way, just like we were saying to Clarissa, like, so what if you drink again? Then what? And we were like, oh yeah, like we will find a way out. There's supports, there's whatever. Like, what if we eat again? Like, yeah, what if? Like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? You will find a way. And maybe you won't find it on your own because, again, we're practicing asking for help. So maybe there's somebody who's going to support you in those choices. But as human beings, in order to survive as a species, as long as we have, guess what? We are resourceful. And if we deny that for somebody else or for ourselves, we keep ourselves stuck in that place of no choice,
Mm.
that place of being a victim.
Well, what's that science on like the brain, like skewing neck? I was just thinking of this patient I have, and she's like, I think I need to quit therapy. All I'm doing is like thinking about how terrible I am. I'm like, you need to take 30 minutes a day to think about how awesome you are. And I like listed all these things that she'd done in therapy that she didn't even remember because she's so focused on like getting well and she's so focused on like how she's not doing this. And I was like, we
Always
gotta
moving the goalpost, you're never going to feel like you're
but
successful.
what's the thing about the brain like feeling safe with the negative?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So familiarity is safety to the brain. So it's familiar to have this negative self-talk, right? And when we try to do something new, like have so self-awareness, side note, self-awareness needs to go beyond just like, what am I doing poorly or where do I always need to improve? Self-awareness also needs to include, otherwise you're just a bully.
Can we do
You are
a
just the
podcast on this next week?
Sure, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
That's a good
Absolutely.
idea.
So self-awareness also has to include the things that we're doing well, like
Yeah.
the strengths that we have
Oh,
and that
this
kind
is
of
the
thing too.
whole problem right
Yeah.
now.
So when we switch to that, when we try to go to that positive psychology or that strengths-based kind of like communication or self-talk, it feels unfamiliar to the brain, which then your brain is like, this is unsafe and I don't want to do
Sure.
it. So we reject it or we like shut down or whatever the thing is that we're going to do to survive. We do that. But the thing is that we have to remember is just because it feels bad does not mean that that is bad for you. It's just new and your brain is recognizing it as something that is dangerous.
So
And it's actually not.
the
Yeah.
self-awareness. Yeah, that self-help stuff can get you sick really quickly, huh?
Well,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
you can over self-help yourself right out of recovery.
Well, in
I
a way, it's like that episode we did where, me and Clarissa were buying everything.
Right. Yeah.
Right,
At some
and
point, it becomes it's all noise.
you're
You don't
just
hear
getting
your inner
further away
wisdom.
from self,
Well, it's
right?
fragilizing. Isn't that a fun? I mean, I
Yeah,
guess like us by
Yeah.
being like, wait, this is the thing. It's like
cool.
I have
And
everything that's in here. It's all in here. It doesn't
exactly,
needs to be out there.
yeah, I always say to my clients, you are not allowed to read a self-help book before
I say
bed.
that all
It's
the time.
always about like, oh, this is just reinforcing I'm broken, right?
Yeah.
That idea, that core belief. And it's like, no, you're exactly how you're supposed to be, and you're healing exactly on the trajectory you're supposed to be healing. And what do you need? And when we're so focused on all that noise, we can't actually hear our intuition. We
Yeah.
can't hear our inner
No.
wisdom. And it
You
just
know,
keeps
when we're
further.
fragilizing.
No,
Yeah.
and not only that, a side point on that, you take those same topics that are under quote self-help and are marketed toward women, those same topics are under leadership at the freaking Barnes and Noble or whatever for men.
Wait, like what's an example? Sorry.
Oh my God, on the spot. I don't even have one off the top of my head. I don't know. Give me a self-help topic. Codependency or something like that, right?
Right. The other would be
Right.
like managing people effectively.
Managing people
Yeah.
effectively. So then if you go to like the leadership section, it's going to be something like oh my God, his name is escaping me. He was a high level Navy SEAL and he
Oh, I know who you're talking about, but
Yes, and he wrote a book about basically like radical it's not radical acceptance. I don't remember the name of it, but basically the whole premise is that you take accountability for all of it. No matter who you're in charge of, you take accountability for all of it. And so like as women, we're being marketed to, well, this is codependency and this is a weakness and you need to like really work on that and all these things. And then men are like, no, like let's capitalize on that. You know, so sorry, that was our
so the
alarm.
patriarchy's in it too.
Yeah.
You know,
So
it's just a thing to remember though, right?
totally.
Like, you know, when we fragilize ourselves, we believe we're fragile, which paralyzes us, which is a threat.
Yeah, it
Same
really
thing
is.
to other people, right? When we fragilize others, we make them think there's something wrong with them. Give people the chance to say no and give yourself the chance to say no. Just something I'm gonna chew on today.
Love it.
Oh, all right. We want to hear from you guys. We want to hear if we're doing well. We want to hear if you don't feel like we're doing well. We want to hear your questions, your comments, your concerns, all of it. And you can email us at asktheshrinks@foodshrinks.com.
Mm.
Thanks for listening to Food Shrinks. Quick reminder, this podcast isn't a substitute for professional medical advice. Always consult your healthcare provider for guidance suited to your needs. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to help us reach others on the recovery journey. Take care and remember, freedom with food is possible. See you next time.